Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Camp Chats on the Farm. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone for the kind text and inbox messages and stuff of encouragement, one, and two, to let me know, hey, your message last week helped me out. For a few of you guys out there, it was able to give you some perspective, and that's what this is all about, right? So helping each other and us growing each day. So for this week, I feel like I have a topic that each and every one of us can absolutely relate to, at least in one form or another, and that is the subjectivity of success. When you talk about success, I think for a lot of people, they have an idea maybe of what they see success as being. For a lot of folks, it's possibly material possessions, money, power, job placement, maybe being number one on a ball team or something. And to a certain extent, obviously, all of those are levels of success, right? But when I look at the big picture of success, for me, I want to think about how am I successful? And that always comes down to a very personal oriented goal. And you have to focus on you sometimes. And so when you are successful, you're going to make other people around you successful. So let's look at that for a second. When I talk about subjectivity, it's, for instance, like a child could come home from school, they have all C's on the report card. And for some kids, they had to work really, really hard on that, right? And so those C's really mattered, and that is a high level of success. And for another child, that would be catastrophic, right? So used to making A's. But where we mess up is, as individuals, a lot of times, is sometimes we take our eyes off of those moments where personal growth should always be the focus. The idea that your success should be leveled off of your personal best. What was the best you've ever done here? How can I get better? Because personal growth and improvement, that's the only thing that we have that we can judge accurately. You think about a person like that's the best in the world, Usain Bolt. Okay, I'll use him as an example. The fastest there is, the fastest person on earth, at least at one point, I guess he is now still. Who is he in competition with? He's in competition with Usain Bolt. When he gets on out there on the track field every time. I mean, he's running against these other people. But if you're the best in the world, you got to try to be better than what you've been before. That's always the goal. Be better than yourself. That's what you have to focus on. So when success being subjective, you don't want to get caught up with what I've done. I know I've done it many times. Looking at someone else's successes and judging that to yourself. You see somebody and they say, well, yeah, I ran this race in this time. I ran a 5K and it was 30 minutes, but so-and-so, he does it in 25. Okay, that's great. That's his personal or her personal best. What's your personal best? Always grow from you. When you start to judge yourself against others, one, either A, you give yourself a false sense of entitlement, or two, you give yourself a false sense of devalue. Don't devalue yourself by thinking you're less than because someone has something better than you. And it doesn't matter what that is. Material possession is what I always go back to. So that's how people judge a lot of success. For me, it's not that. It is personal growth, but it came from a moment. It came from a moment of clarity that I lived through, and I want to share that with you because I feel like that this is something we all battle with at some point in time, depending on what the topic is, right? We all have this moment where we stop and we see it in a different light, where we're looking at what someone else has done versus what we just did. For me, my moment of clarity came in my first marathon. For those of you out there that know me, my wife and I, we do races. It's fun. It's a hobby. It turns out I'm probably never going to be in the front of the pack. That's just not going to happen. That's okay, though, because, again, I'm not comparing myself to them. It's all about Chris Camp. How good am I? Where am I at today? How can I be better tomorrow? That's the game plan. But in my first marathon, it wasn't like that. Growing up, I was fairly athletic. Had ran a lot of different races, 5Ks, 10Ks, and the year before I ran my first marathon, I had done a half marathon. I felt like I did pretty well. Didn't have any real big issues. So at that moment, I decided in 2005, I'm going to run my first full marathon. And so I trained, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I ain't asking questions. Fair. I'm Chris Campbell. Go do this thing, right? So I show up at the game day, right? Game day's happening. Marathon day is here. I show up out there. And I walk up to the starting line. Now, the furthest I had ever ran, even in training, up to that day was 13.1 miles, right? 13.1, that's it. I never did a training day past that. Didn't think I needed it. And as I walk up to the starting line, I'm looking around, and I'm judging books by their cover. I'm like, probably going to beat that person, going to beat that person. I start thinking, man, I might come in first place. I don't know. The jury's out. Let's just see what happens when we take off running. Start goes. I'm running down the street, man. I'm running down the street, and First mile, fifth mile, eighth mile, I'm weaving the pack. Folks going by me. I'm like, I got this thing. This is it. This is the moment. Something happened around mile 14 to say 20, where my body started rejecting a lot of stuff that was happening in that moment. Pains that I had never felt before was sinking into all my joints, okay? By mile 22 and 23, I started thinking, maybe I'm not gonna make it to the finish line. Maybe I'm not going to finish in this 4 to 4.5 hour time frame I told my wife to look for me in, because I thought I knew what I was doing, right? Well, let me tell you something. Suddenly about mile 24, people start passing me so fast. I feel like there is a fan behind me. And now I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I might come in last. Well, about mile 25, I hear, I look to the side of me. And there's this elderly male. He's got kyphosis, the hump on the back. Trots past me. And I look up and I say, he doesn't know it, but that man is my competition right now. If no one else in this race, if I don't beat another soul, that's the guy I've got to beat. So I reach deep and I start running and I go past him and I get a little ways ahead of him and I slow back up and I'm looking for mile 26. Well, within about 30 seconds, I hear, and here he comes again, running past me. I said, no, that's not gonna happen. So I pick it up again, I get back in front of him, I get a little ways up, and then I slow up again, and I'm thinking, I've got to be getting close to the finish line now. In less than a minute, I hear those same footsteps. Here he comes by me, and you know what? At this point, I don't have anything left. I said, you go, you got this, man. I'm giving him a high five. He don't even know that we were just in a race together, but I'm giving him a high five. I said, you go for it. He gets on ahead of me. I feel very dejected inside. I feel like, how did I let myself get in this position where someone that obviously you would not think could even run 26.2 miles is gonna beat me now? He goes on ahead, he crosses the finish line. A few minutes later, I come into the stadium, finished at Redbird Stadium. I come jogging up. I go across the finish line. I feel horrible inside. I feel like I lost. That's the best way to say it. I feel like I lost. Of course, my wife comes down and it was over an hour past what I said I would be done in. And she says, I got concerned. I don't know what took you so long. I said, it's a long story. And she goes, well, I was really nervous whenever I saw the old man with kyphosis come across the finish line. I said, that's the one man we don't talk about, young lady. But you see, what I realized looking back was I lost that moment forever. That was my first marathon. I had just completed 26.2 miles. I had just done something that probably less than 2% of the entire population would ever even do. But because I was fixated on someone else's achievements and using that to value, or in this case, devalue my accomplishment, there was no celebratory pictures. There was no jovial time of excitement that I had just achieved a huge goal. I wasn't looking at the right thing. I had just done something for myself that I had never even attempted. I don't want you to do the same. As you go out there and you challenge yourself, keep some blinders on occasionally. Focus on making yourself better. And realize at the end of the day, if you are a better person today than you were yesterday, then you did accomplish your goal. I hope this is helpful to some of you guys. I really appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm going to be uploading this to my YouTube. Let's help spread the word. Like it, share it, do whatever you got to do. I have one big incentive, one major goal. I want to help other folks. That is my true heart and soul. Thank y'all again. Until we see each other next week, be good to one another.